we've got 9 winners to find here, though, Aidan, before the rugby. And, yeah, looking forward to the day. As I said, heavy 11. It's going to be interesting how these conditions play out. It's going to be survival of the toughest out there, you'd imagine. Absolutely. Let's start you off on race 2 here. Brendan has to have a look at the market for it. Is the Mount Shop 2100, where Nully Secundus is at 460 and 190. Windy Height, really good and running second last time out on the track, 480 and 195. 650 about Divine Duke and Pursued as well. Thad Taylor, let's bring you in to talk Pukekohe. What are the punters liking?
Yeah, tricky race to start the day, or the race number 2 it is, Aidan, but the horses that Cornelled the race last time, Nelly Secundus and Windy Height, obviously up the top of this market. We've got 4 horses in single figures, then a bit of a jump. Divine Duke's probably been the best backed each way here, Aidan, at this stage. It's on the quick backup from Te Rapa last Saturday, but gets a track I think it'll suit it a little bit more, the heavy 11, nice loose track there. So I can understand why they're getting behind Divine Duke. And ready to strike, I think, sort of 4 runs back into its preparation. So, and Pursued's the other one in single figures. That was a good second last time out. So a bit of a jump to the remainder. There are a couple of at double figure odds that they don't mind a little bit of a go at. Black Magic Woman's one of them for Sean Ritchie. It's second up into this, but it'll love the heavy 11 track it gets there today. The other one's the Kipling Girl, who hasn't won in a while, but always runs well and is consistent. So, and again, won't mind the conditions. So the other ones at odds, $18 and $19 around the Kipling Girl and Black Magic Woman, but best backed at this stage is the favourite. Is Divine Duke ahead of the favourite Nelly Secundus.
Okay, let's have a look at the speed map for this one for you, and we'll show Windy Height getting forward to the speed, Bay Rocker, Century Miss as well. But looks to be a really competitive race here. Brendan, how do you see it? Look, I think it's a race where a couple of key form runners, as Thad spoke about there, Nelly Secundus and obviously Windy Height, they went up against each other last time to the races, and even Pursued and the Red John form line are runners that you can use as a guide for the race. And then you've got the Kipling Girl, who is an interesting runner because of that placing in the Kiwi Fruit Cup, which was 3 starts ago, up against the open handicap horses. I have rolled the dice a little bit on a roughie in the race, though, and I'm going to go to runner number 16 in Century Miss. Now, this horse is third up today. Was third in this race last year, went third up. Now, it has had 2 runs in. I think the horse desperately has been looking for this type of track condition, a heavy 11 where she can get her feet through it. And I think this will be more suitable for her than, say, last week at Te Rapa, where they were able to run, 124, for instance, over 1,400 metres. She needs it wet and she needs it testing. So I'm going to go with the 16 as a bit of a value hope here in the race in Century Miss for Thomas and Gillies. In front of the 6 and Nelly Secundus, the 4 and Windy Height. I think they're big players with what they formed from last time. And Nelly Secundus overall, though, has been in top-notch form, considering the horse won a maiden 12 months ago at Ruakaka, and is in a good form jockey aboard as well, and Rebecca Scott. So I went 16, 6, 4 and 8 in race number 2. You know, of course, Matthew Gillies no longer in partnership with Graham Thomas. That was to the end of the season. He actually begins his new job with Lance Noble as his travelling foreman on Monday. And of course, he does have an important assignment at Riccarton today in the Grand National Steeplechase as rider of Gargarin as well. Let's move you on to the third, Brendan, the workshop 1924. 1200, where just a Kansas at 421.65, 480 about Inca Warrior and Solmization, $6 Irish Mist and Lupulani, and $8 for Liquid Inspiration. It's one we're needing a guide on here, Thad, because, $4.20 to $8, not much of a spread.
I'm needing a bit of a guide on it as well, Aidan, to be perfectly frank. We've got 6 horses in single figures here of the 9-horse field, and currently we're losing on the 3 in double figures. Call Me Bob, I Walk Alone, Pushka. I guess the most relevant maybe point there is that Lupulani and Call Me Bob are both trained by Nigel Tiley. And at this stage, Call Me Bob has been better backed ahead of Lupulani at $11. Look, customers are struggling to give us a lead. I'm struggling to give you too much of a lead, Aidan. Just a Canter has assumed favouritism in the race, but there's a few horses, and I think Brendan might have a few stats for us on this race, but there's a few horses that it's been a while between drinks, so it's been a little bit tricky to price up. Maybe Call Me Bob might be the way to go. Nigel Tiley on the track, and they're backing it, and we had it as the second stringer of the 2.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast this week either, but it sounds like there might be some good oil on there. Inca Warrior is the on-pace runner, Pushka and Solmization as well. I wasn't minding Solmization here. BP, the last few runs have all had decent form, but come on, reveal these stats.
Well,
Yeah, thanks, Thad. Listen to the podcast. Yeah, look, I think it's a race where you could run this a number of times, couldn't you, and get a different winner. That's that sort of field. There's a number of horses here that have had a few starts and haven't won for quite some time, but Soulmisation is one of them. 783 days since this horse last won a race, but I am going to mark it as my top selection in the race. You have to go back to the 18th of June 2017 when winning, but he did run second in this race last year, did Soulmisation, and went very close to winning when last presented to the races out of Avondale behind Red Tsunami. 4 kilos off, down to 56 kilos. We'll take a chance with Soulmisation, rediscovering that form, which was 15 starts ago when last winning a race. But you've even got a horse like Just a Canter, who was at 14 starts ago when this horse last won a race, but again, the last start run suggested that maybe it's not too far off winning another race with how close he went at Rotorua when finishing close along the rail. I thought Liquid Inspiration might have been that horse we could consider here, Aidan. Look, a runner that does come back to 1,200 metres will be a test, though, for runners, as we've said throughout the day, that it will be like getting to 1,400 metres anyway. But this horse has won 3 races over the 1,200, and we know that she really does like the tough testing tracks. I'll go 2, 6, 3 and 4 in a very tough race.
Yep, same way as you there too, Brendan. And if you want to get that podcast, the League Up, head to the Punters Lounge on the TRB website, then to podcast. And it's right there, and it's well worth a listen. They do a really good job. Okay, next race we look at is the 4th, and this is the Panhead Custom Hours, 1,600. Cherry Lane at 3 and 128, 380 Paisley Park. Bransom at $4.40, Ticket to Ride $6, and Montvento at $7. That should give me a bit of a price boost on something in this race, shouldn't it, Thad? That will push along for your nice broadcast.
Too kind, Aidan. Too kind. You're a huge fan. You might be the #1 fan, to be perfectly honest.
Might be.
Not too sure how many people are listening, but we try and put it in each week for you anyway. Look, the story in race number 4, Paisley Park and Cherry Lane, it's been Paisley Park. And these horses have come a little bit closer together in this market since we've opened. I think we were $284. Look, she's flying Cherry Lane, there's no doubt about that, but you certainly wouldn't begrudge Paisley Park her turn. She's been running against some very good horses and running with distinction, so she'd deserve a win. Punters are on, they took the 4, she's into 380, and Cherry Lane has just eased on the back of that. Look, we gave Bransom a big chance. Obviously the 10-year-old on the flat there over a mile, but he is flying, so he gets conditions to suit, and he's in form. So we've got them quite clearly ahead of the rest here, almost. Ticket to Ride at $6, a little bit quiet, but and the remainder are as well, Aidan. So look, I'll give you the lead here, Paisley Park, but so certainly Cherry Lane isn't friendless, but if you want the best backed, it's Paisley Park.
Okay, not a lot of speed, just in the small field here. We look to horses like Good Vibes, and you'd think Ticket to Ride's the other one right on speed as well. How did you see this one, Brendan? Because it is interesting, especially the money around Paisley Park and Cherry Lane.
Well, Paisley Park sits in a better place today at the weights, doesn't he, compared to the opposition, and the obvious one being Cherry Lane. Paisley Park's been that horse where won, 3 from the first 4 starts, and just looked a very progressive horse, and there'd been up against some tough opposition this winter. You've only got to go back to a Helena Baby defeat, for instance. So maybe it's his day today with where he's placed against his main rival. Cherry Lane is a horse who just keeps going on the upward plane, though, at the same time, doesn't she? She's an informed horse from an informed stable, and the same can probably be said about the jockey as well. So I went with Cherry Lane, the horse that's up and running and's got the runs on the board, but wouldn't be surprised if Paisley Park can take the race out at the same time, with his probably his best opportunity here today, just getting the swing and the weights on his main rival. And then Bransom, of course, who ran second in that particular race that we just saw there out of Rotorua. What does Good Vibes do here today? I know it's a horse that might have a chance of having an uncontested lead. Probably didn't suit those conditions at Rotorua, where it was sort of a puggy track. If it could be up front and no one challenging it for the lead, well, then could it be that horse that kicks on? It can do it. It's done it a number of times at a big price. It has upset them, has Good Vibes. But, I went with, I thought, a nice bet between the 2 and the 3, the 3 and the 2.
Yeah, okay. Let's move you on to your feature now, Brendan. It's the Pukekohe Plumbing 1400. Just the 5 runners now with the defection of 7th up. 280 about Admiral and Hello Milady. $5 Battle Time, $5.50 He's Cavalier, and $7 Blue Breeze. But the money push, that is for the one at the bottom, it seems.
Yeah, look, you would think, and look, I guess what you can say is everything's got a chance, as the market clearly indicates, and we were waiting for the good fight / Blue Breeze plunge And look, it has been 8 into 7, but certainly nothing like the money we saw for the good fight resuming at Te Rapa. But there's enough to suggest Blue Breeze can run a race and will run a race, 8 into 7. So that's basically saying they're all accorded a chance. I guess the story here is that Hello Milady and Admiral have come closer together in this market. I think we were 260, 280, a very similar situation to Paisley Park, and now we're joint favourites there at $2.80 around Admiral and Hello Milady. Look, Hello Milady looks well placed in this race for me, but Admiral, we know what he loves, the Pukekohe track. He hasn't gone too well at 1400 metres, but Trudy Thornton has a great affinity with him. Just be interesting to see that speed map, Aidan, with He's Cavalier and Admiral. He probably won't be left alone up front, and maybe that gives Hello Milady a chance to come over the top. So going to be an interesting race, even though it's pretty small.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Admiral didn't try and dominate this race. That's where he's best, out in front. He's Cavalier's got speed, and so does Battle Time. But, geez, that's the way I think they'd play it, wouldn't they, Brendan?
You would have thought so. That's when he's at his absolute best, isn't it, for Admiral, when he's in front and he's doing his own thing. Look, same for He's Cavalier, though, isn't he? That's when he seems to be in a happy place. But he's got 53 kilos. He's Cavalier. I know he's coming back to 1400 metres. And the last start defeat was over 1600 metres. But Admiral's a horse, once he gets himself into some good form, he's a very hard horse to peg back. Now, he's a stakes winner at this venue. Of course, he did win the 2016 Karaka Classic. And you would have thought here that Sultan of Swing was going to pick him up, but he just keeps on giving and he keeps on fighting, does Admiral. Now, of course, he's not going to be at the lucrative price that he is normally at when he does win. He's normally at least double figures, Admiral, when he does salute. Today, he's going to be one of the favourites, and deservedly so as well, with, I think, Hello Milady, who's going to lay down a pretty big challenge today, you would imagine. I thought Hello Milady, with the defeat in a pretty decent race 2 starts ago, took on the Tauranga Classic at weight for age level and only finished into 5th position, and even her run in the Opanaki Cup as well to finish into 5th spot. So Anna Jones takes the ride aboard Hello Milady. Again, like the previous race, didn't find too much between them. Wouldn't be surprised which way the result goes, but I'll go with the 6 in front of the 3. In our feature of the open handicap over 1400 metres. And of course, a lot of interest here as well, Aidan, in the return of Blue Breeze. They've got some big missions in mind for Blue Breeze, a horse who was placed in the Counties Cup, Avondale Cup and Auckland Cup last season.
Yeah, Melbourne Cup on the radar, and we have seen that the horse goes round in Brendan and Joe Lindsay's colours for the first time, having bought into the horse as well. Cameron Nama's not riding there today as well, so Sean Mackay takes the ride in the first, Taiki Yannikita the second, Anna Jones 5, Trudy Thornton 6, as we saw Donovan Mansour 7, Taiki Yannikita 8 and Lee Thinnis in the 9th of the card. Brendan, before we leave the meeting, was there anything late in the program that you might want to ask Thad for a bit more money on?
Well, certainly races 8 and 9 are nice 65 races, so let's see if we can get the latest from you, Thad. Is there any movement in that last race of the day? I wasn't minding Yamuna in race number 9. Have you got anything for us there?
Yeah, look, it has been 5 into 460 Yamuna since we opened, so stepping to a mile today, Yamuna, you'd think would suit, and it's been in very good form. Last couple of seconds have been good. I don't want to rain on your Parade BP, of course, but maybe a couple for your boxed Cornella here, that they are backing Elvin's Dream in Deluxe Edition. Deluxe Edition's won twice at the Counties track, and most of its wins, the majority, have been on a heavy track. So there are a couple for you, but yeah, Yamuna deserves to break through, and we have had a little move in from $5 in a tough race.
All right, nice one. Well, I'm going to have that in my strategy today, Yamuna. I'm going to go with my best bet today, though, in a maiden race, race number 6. I do like the chances of Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe Thad could give us a little bit of a heads up on this one. I know it's 8s into 7s, Atlanta, Georgia, who was very good late in a race at Matamata. Gets more distance today, goes from 1200 to 1400 metres and nestles down to a 54.5 kilogram weight as well, with D. Dennis aboard. Century Miss is my roughie for the day in race number 2. We'll back it each way. We'll have something to win on Atlanta, Georgia at the $8. That was posted yesterday with the bookmakers. 10 each way on Victoria in race number 7, right at the bottom of the book, a horse who has been going some nice races of late and might be a nice hope at around $7. And we'll try and end things with Yamuna in the last of the day, Aidan.
Good, good. We'll be back to you prior to your first at, what's that, quarter to 12. Thad, he's asking for prices from yesterday as part of his strategy. Can you give us the latest on Atlanta, Georgia as well?
Certainly, $8 long gone. If you listen to the podcast, Aidan, I'm sure the half a dozen people that do have had a bet, because it's 8 into 650. So there's no retrospective taking of prices. You know that, Aidan.
I know that. We've got to teach BP, don't we? Jeez, we're going to educate them. Come on, BP.
It's already locked in, Aidan. I don't know what you're talking about. I was just trying to get it for the suggested.
Well, we all want that. Maybe, Thad, you might be able to just look after our viewers through the day as well. But thanks, men, for joining us and getting us through the Pukekohe card as well. And that's the Punters Lounge wrapped up with our looks at Riccarton, Pukekohe, and also now the Australian races looked at as well.